challenges on
They haven't quit.
so.
I will check on that.
I figure I don't need to remind people. When you get a check, you should cash it.
I know there was change in their management, and they didn't know who could put it in the bank.
I'm assuming anybody can put it in the bank. It's taking it back out.
God, you have a bad attitude today. I'm glad I'm sitting back here.
No, I mean, the bank will take it. But the city can get it back out again. I'm assuming they would have a problem. You know?
Well, as far as organization rules, I want to make sure that.
That's right, yeah.
I
So
will
no,
check
it's still
on that.
outstanding. I think it's like 5,200, 2,500 something.
Since it's so old, we're going to have another check recut.
His son, congratulations.
Well, if you can find it, that would be great.
Okay. And next time, just make it out to.
Dale.
That'll get cashed a lot easier.
I'm guessing the organizational part though won't work out that way.
I'll just cut him a check back. Trust me.
Sure.
I want to say his neighbor's name.
Sure.
I will check on that.
Okay.
That screws your guys' books up too.
Well, it just sits out there. It's outstanding.
That's fine.
So,
Yeah. Just to hold this.
that was written in 17, so if you don't find it figured out by next May, a year from now, I will just void it and be done with it.
Good Lord.
I know, we are evil here. I know. Because that's on my list to do today. Old warrants, cancel old warrants from 2000.
What's that, just go in your petty cash funds? You know,
No.
cabin coffee?
My Diet Coke fund?
No.
Yes.
That works too.
Yes, that's what I like.
Can we use the 4440 to take the green card down there? I think instead of an we can go line around. I'd rather.
The guy's talking about 4440. That's enough. Just say 8 or something.
Point it.
Just say 8.
Just take that down and get the wagon out.
Take the green one.
Mr. Stozer, you're not allowed to leave today until you have your insurance.
Even I are in the naughty list.
Okay,
I've done it with,
okay. Catch you later.
Brittany?
Brittany.
Oh, you called her? Okay.
So then you're just on the Aflac list?
I am.
All right, then. It's just Bill.
I got an excuse, I had a graduation.
Oh,
I don't know if that covers the days all
I don't think so.
Procrastination covers those days. Been to anybody?
Yeah. I probably will after a little bit.
It's time. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to approve the minutes of the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Paramedics.
I just happened to see that it was on the agenda, so I figured I'd show up and see if you guys had any more questions or concerns on it.
I guess I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
How's the selection process gonna work for,
Since there is some tax dollars involved, we'd have to open it up for an application process. Once that application process is opened up, we'll base our judgment on the criteria, past history, work ethic, if it fits the program. A family, it's going to be harder on a family that's a two-income family because that they're going to have to go down to one income. A person that's got, it's tougher on them, just for the fact that you're going to be home for 6 months. So that all plays into the criteria of what they are. My hope is to find someone that's been running on EMS, has got a good track record within Winnebago County or the surrounding area, that has proven him or herself to the local organizations. And again, if we can find a younger person that is willing to settle down, make roots in Winnebago County, preferably in Forest City, because it's closer to the headquarters, that's a bonus too. But it'll be open up for an application process, and then we'll pick from there. But since I was here last week, I've had 3 inquiries. I've got one person that is very interested, is even checking in the prerequisites, and several others that are checking on scholarships, grants, things like that, to fill the void for their portion of the inputs on it. But that's as far as we're at with that right now.
Is there like if we do this, put it through, is there a length of stay that they've got to sign a contract for?
What I've been telling everybody and what I went across with the ambulance service in the city is 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, for, $15,000 to $20,000 investment, 4 years within the community. Plus it's a career for them if they ever decide to leave. So 4 years I figure is perfect for this fit.
what area does this cover? It's Winnebago County, and does it go into Hancock County?
Goes in, it covers everything that Forest City Ambulance, Lake Mills Ambulance, Buffalo Center Ambulance, anybody that we tier with, we'll even do maybe 1 or 2 tiers a year, if that, with Lakota. It's very, very minor. We open up our services to the surrounding area if it's needed. I mean, they do for us, we do for them.
How much does Forest City Ambulance go down into Hancock County?
Quite often. If you figure Winnebago as being part of Hancock County, and anything from, I think it's Indian Avenue to the south is Hancock County. We'll go to the Hayfield, Blacktop. Ours is the north side of the road. Garner's is the south side of the road. So if you draw a line going down B20, we're the same way through Miller. One side of the road is Forest City, the other side is Garner.
Has there been any requests with the Hancock County Board of Supervisors?
We haven't asked them because it's one of those, every time that its finances is brought up, it's a Forest City Ambulance territory. It's their district. And that is the reason why Forest City is putting some of the investment in, because they know they go outside the reaches of Winnebago County.
Has there been any discussion, what did I see? There's some discussion on possible paramedicine at clinics. Is there any future for that?
Not in our area. Not in our area. Paramedicine is a great fill-in, but you have to be in a bigger community. Paramedicine is basically something that the hospitals and the clinics use as an outreach. So instead of that patient going back to the clinic or home health care going in and doing wound care, that you'll use the paramedics to go do that, which is great and fantastic if we had a department where we ran more than one full-time, one backup at a time. Because if you schedule, let's say you schedule 10 paramedicine trips for that day, and you've got a busy ambulance day, then what happens to those 10 trips? It becomes a liability. But in the future, it's a definite possibility coming. I could see it if we were a county organization where, let's say, public health was pulling back, where we needed to fill that void. But right now we got a great public health, and that's filling the void. We would have to have a lot more paramedics to do the paramedicine. We've done the research on it, and like I said, it's interesting, but we just don't have the assets or the capability of doing it right now.
Has there been any discussion as far as county-run paramedic service itself?
It comes up several times a year, especially when the outlying services have trouble getting EMTs, the staff rigs. There are several locations that are really tough, really struggling right now to get crews together. We'd like to keep it status quo as long as we can. For the taxpayers, the county, the city, when you start going to full-time, you start talking a lot of dollars. And the only way that EMS will work in small communities such as Winnebago, Hancock County, is to utilize volunteer services. So anytime you can utilize that volunteer service and pump them up, get them to do it, again, you could have one full-time service with one rig staffed, and it's going to cost $400,000. And there's no way you're going to recoup that investment. So it's going to be a money outlay every year once we go to a county. So that's why our hope is to push that out.
Is that what it costs for a city? Is $400,000?
Right now, my budget for just 4 paramedics is roughly $360,000.
For how many paramedics?
4.
Is that a one crew, or is that
That's one on main, one on backup.
So why was it 400 for one if it was county run?
If it was county run, you would have to have, there's several different options, several different scenarios that play out. You could do a county paramedic service or a county ambulance service. If you did a county ambulance service, you have to staff a minimum of 4 people to run one shift 24/7. So if you run 2 shifts, that's $800,000. One shift in a county with the way Lake Mills, Buffalo Center, and Forest City runs, one isn't going to be enough. So that's why the dollars and the income coming back in from ambulance services isn't enough to staff anybody full-time.
How do you answer the taxpayer from my old district and my district that don't have that paramedic service per se? I know they can get called out.
Mm-hmm. Those outlying services, again, it's Forest City Ambulance picks up a big chunk, and not as much as the city, not as much as the county, but our ambulance service kicks in right around $40,000 a year right now to the paramedic department, because they pay all the pager hours. They also pay for the response rig, the meds, the gas, all the upkeep on things like that. You start looking at the outlying services, so it would be, let's say, Buffalo Center. The town of Buffalo Center would have to kick in a major portion to get full-time paramedics in their area. Same way with Lake Mills. You would have to either find someone that wants to volunteer and run as PRN, but if you can't find them to get a full-time job, you aren't going to get them to run PRNs.
I guess I didn't ask that right. How can we go back to our people, constituents, and say we're kicking in $70,000 to the county, but they're just on call for us?
If we went down to 1, and that's been discussed. Let's say we took the county equation out of it, took the $70,000. That basically drops us 1 paramedic. So that $70,000 is offering the county the use of the paramedic. And if we get to the point where we assess the patient and say it's a BLS call, that the paramedic doesn't have to go on it, then that even leaves the county a better chance of getting the paramedic. Of all the times I've been on, maybe in a year, we aren't able to provide paramedics to outlying services when they request. It's under 10 times a year. I would say between 5 and 8 times a year that we can't provide a paramedic because we've already got them out. But that's just the luck of the draw. I mean, you know, if Lake Mills is out and they request a paramedic, we don't have another paramedic to put out because our state license says we have to have a paramedic on our first out rig. And with the city of Forest City putting in over $300,000, they have the equity invested in the other three. But, I mean, if we wanted to go up, it would just cost more dollars. If you wanted to go down and save the $70,000, there just wouldn't be any advanced care for anybody other than the Forest City territory.
What is your average response time to the outlying communities for paramedics?
Depends on where it's at. Everything is location. If Lake Mills calls us, we can probably be in city limits, 10 to 12 minutes, something on that order. Buffalo Center, they just had a flight over there about a week ago. I think Buffalo Center's was just shy of 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, 18 to 20. But, you know, what we try and tell these outlying services, don't wait around for us. Get the patient and rig starting route, and then we can tier, we can get closer. And that's what works best. EMS is not a profitable business. No matter what way you do it, you're always paying out. But without having a hospital close by, it's almost a necessity nowadays because everything we do in the rig is almost like a mobile ER anymore. Anything else, gentlemen? Is it your thought process, or are you looking at doing away with that $70,000?
We haven't talked about it at all.
Okay. My hope for the county is that it's not. It's a good investment in your county. We do a lot of paramedic assess, and again, everything is a time status. You know, it takes even longer to get a helicopter to some of these locations than it does a paramedic. And, you know, helicopters are always, they're harping on, you know, time. And time again, we can get that patient in the hospital even quicker than the air transports can. Because they have to do all their treatment on ground before they take off. We do it en route. And again, you're looking at the cost. Even for the patient, a Medicare patient, you know, they probably won't pay much out of pocket, but air transport, if I remember right, gets $5,300. For an ambulance service, maybe $500. So, you know, a lot of these calls, it's pick and choose which calls should go by air, which calls shouldn't go by air. But there's no set procedure for EMS. I mean, everyone's struggling. If we had a ton of people, we could reorganize, but, you know, we just keep hearing of people looking and no one to fill those spots. And, you know, as far as people moving in the communities, that's one thing they look at is advanced care. And even if it's not a financial savings to anybody, it's a draw for the community. People look at that. But.
So in light of that problem, shouldn't we strongly be looking at a county-wide service? I mean, I was thinking about the service and on a true paramedic service, is it both the driver and the person in the back, are they both paramedics?
They can be.
But are they? I mean, not in Des Moines if the service goes out.
Not necessarily, no. No, because it's a dollars and cents type deal. My son runs in West Des Moines. They'll run a lot of EMTs as drivers, and then if it's a BLS call, then the paramedic will drive and the EMT will be in back.
Are those volunteers, the EMTs down there? No.
No, they're all paid. No.
So if you staffed a county-wide one with one volunteer and one paramedic, that would alleviate a lot of the cost itself, and you'd have countywide service.
But how many would you have to put on? Now, if you're doing a county, then you're talking regionalizing that paramedic. So if you put them someplace, let's say midline in the center of the county, which be North Junction, somewhere's on that area. So now in severe weather, you've got that service going a long distance, no matter which way they're going. And you're still utilizing volunteers.
But the end of the day is the paramedic. For those of us in Buffalo Center, like Mills, the paramedic is a long way to go. So I mean,
right. If the paramedic is paged out the same time that the ambulance service is paged out, you normally have a 7-minute response time. So your response time is between 7 and 8 minutes. Let's say Lake Mills, where we have a 12-minute response time. If we're paged out the same time that Lake Mills is paged out, let's say it's a cardiac, by the time they respond, get on scene, check the patient out, we're about a minute or 2 out.
So isn't that even a bigger argument for a countywide service then?
If
they get paged out right away?
Yes and no, but again, how many people do you have to staff at that point? Because there's times when Lake Mills has 2 rigs out, times Forest City has 3 rigs out at the same time. So how many people are you going to staff? It becomes a dollars and cents deal. How many people do we want to have on the staff?
Well, there again, Lake Mills, Buffalo Center isn't guaranteed, and Fort City aren't guaranteed paramedic service right now, right? Is Fort City guaranteed that paramedics go out?
No. You can't guarantee that there's going to be a paramedic on every rig, no matter where you're at.
Right.
You can't
guys get called out to Lake Mills and Buffalo Center, and the paramedics are out, and Fort City has a call.
Mm-hmm.
Fort City is not going to have a paramedic.
Right.
So why can't that be countywide? You have your paramedics staffed at a certain level, and if they're gone, then the EMT goes.
But what difference are we at right now than what we have? Because if you're still utilizing a volunteer and a paramedic, and if that paramedic is out and isn't available, now you're down to 1 volunteer responding. So you're going to have to have a bunch of EMTs to be able to staff it. And again, the only way to do that financially sound is through the volunteers.
Right.
So we're right back to where we're at right now, right?
Not really, because I believe that there's enough volunteers out there. I know I would give the volunteer service a 24-hour time slot, or maybe even a 12, I don't know, 18-hour. And did I go sit there and be ready to go out in 30 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
So whether we volunteer it from a city, Buffalo Center, Lake Mills City, Fort City, or it's volunteered from a county level, I don't see the difference there.
And the concept is great, but it comes down to the follow-through, and we've had a lot of people say the same thing, and the follow-through just isn't there. Their lives are so busy, their time commitments. When we run 1,000 calls a year, and then you start utilizing EMTs, some of the EMTs on our service are on call over 300 hours a month. And we try and keep that down because that's a burnout factor. You start taking away from the home, you start taking away from the activities because you can't leave town, you can't go out with the family, so you're stuck in town. So a lot of people look at that and go, let someone else do it. In reality, if we had tons of people, just like what you said, that would be willing to donate their time, go sit there for 12, 24 hours, we wouldn't even have to worry about this. Because then those services could go and put their people through the paramedic training on their own and have paramedics instead of EMTs.
But that challenge exists whether you're Fort City, Buffalo Center, Lake Mills,
Mm-hmm.
or countywide, as far as the volunteers are concerned. I know Lake Mills is hurting for volunteers.
Oh, most definitely.
And I think probably a lot of the communities are.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I would be more apt to sit where I live though, like at home, rather
Well,
than,
you can't be on call at your job if you have to be, say, we had a central.
no,
if you're sitting in Thompson or whatever,
Yeah,
you can't.
I mean, even if you're going somewhere and sitting, that's a lot different than if you're sitting at home or at your job working.
And the other thing is, if you're sitting and twiddling your fingers, twiddling your thumbs and watching TV when there's no calls, I could be home doing this, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And pretty soon that leads into, well, I'll just take a day off, take a week off. Pretty soon you aren't doing it because it's a boredom factor. In between calls, when you're sitting someplace where you can't leave, you can't go out, can't go have a glass of wine or anything like that with the family at supper, that's a strain, and that's why it's tough on volunteers. And again, just like you said, the response time. If you could sit at home and you lived in town and you live within 5 minutes of the garage, hey, that's fantastic. That is the concept that works the best when you're close by. But there's no flow chart, there's no pattern that we can follow. Everybody's got a different concept. And a lot of them are going to hospital-based. Well, we can't do that in Winnebago County because at that point, they could work in the hospital, helping them out, and then go out on calls. But when we first started that out, that worked at the clinic for about a month and found out that they couldn't rely on us because we're out on calls. Some days you'll be running 18, 19 hours a day. The next day, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. If we could get a bunch more of staffing, bunch more training, if we went up 4 more paramedics, then you could staff a paramedic on one side of the county and one on the other. And again, it's just dollars and cents. It's whatever you want to invest in it. If you had 2 medics on 24/7, your chances of being able to have a paramedic for all services is good. But there's no guarantees that we would have one, even with 2 medics. If Buffalo Center wanted one and then Lake Mills wanted one, there's no guarantees that you could still have paramedics on every call.
Okay. Yeah, there's no silver bullet for the issue.
No, it's very complicated, and that's, when they talk essential services and making it that way, the states would just come in and say, hey, you guys, as a county level, you guys got to do this. You got to provide this, this, and this. But you can't tell your constituents, hey, I'm going to guarantee that an ambulance shows up your door every time within so many minutes. It's just not possible. It's not a way of life, because you get a major accident, you could have all your rigs on the opposite end of the county when you need one on the other end. So, but
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a way of life.
yeah,
And that's the trade-off that we have to determine in our own lives, is it worth.
right. A lot of people move closer as they get older to the bigger towns, especially if they have health problems. You'll see it. They'll move from the rural communities, they'll move into towns to where they can get to the health benefits quicker. Again, that's just a way of life. So if you can provide the advanced care, it'll keep the people up more in the rural areas. They'll still want to move, and that's just part of life. That's just the way it is. But
I guess there is a silver bullet. It just requires a whole lot of silver.
that's right. Very good point. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Are we gonna vote on the funding today, or just see if you guys are ready? Just whenever we do this. discussing.
No,
Did we decide this could be on next year's?
We checked out, if we go through DMAC, we'll pay by semester. And the first semester would be after August 1st. So yes, it can be after August 1st.
Time to discuss it now as far as, I guess it's on the agenda this. It says,
we got a lot of people waiting, so
Right.
if we want, we can put it off till next week, don't have to.
Or later in the meeting?
Or later in the
Have that discussion.
alright,
Let's do that. Push this back.
We'll let you know.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Okay. Change in contract for child support recovery.
I reviewed that contract. I also talked to Linda, representative of Child Support Recovery Unit. There are no substantive changes at this point. They're almost all procedural, and it actually only affects the host county. It would make no changes to Winnebago County right now. Floyd County has been the host county for, I believe, what did we say, 6 years? Or at some point, I'm going to guess they're going to want to pass that buck on to somebody else, and eventually Winnebago will probably become a host county again, but we're going to have to relearn all those procedures at that time anyway, since it's been so long.
Alrighty.
I'll make a motion to approve the change in contract for child support recovery.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, second by Bill to approve the change in contract for child support recovery. Any questions? What changes are we making?
They're all procedural, so like the reporting requirements when they have to file their claims. Like I said, there's nothing that affects Winnebago County right now.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
There's your signature on the top line there.
Thank you for looking at that.
Yep.
Okay, Scott.
Good morning. Just have one major thing to touch on today. As you know, we had a vacancy in our Fort City shop as Adam Hickman resigned. After some of our guys have moved around, the opening we will have is for motor grader operator in Thompson. So we'll have that job posted today and in the papers here to come. So we'll be looking for somebody in that shop. We'll keep the process moving, but we'll have a initial deadline of June 4th, I think, for application. So if you know anybody you think would be good, encourage them to apply and work our way through the process.
Okay. That on your end? Questions?
I don't have any of this.
Guess who's up?
Oh boy, here we go. I believe on the agenda you're starting with the reclassification report. We went through the process with this. I should give you this location map. Area in blue on this is the area end 8021. And you can see that rake is there.
Please, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else here for 21?
Thank you, Rick.
We use our normal process as far as the reclassification. Submitted the report, it includes all the laterals, main and all the laterals. We use the soils as our starting basis because that represents so many characteristics and benefits that can be gained from the drainage that's done. You can see there's a lot of laterals with this one, so the book it's not that huge a district, but the book ends up relatively thick. These were submitted some time ago to Chris. You took action to set the hearing for that today. Chris wants these motions to go. But let me give you this too, because we get right into this as part of this. This is the annexation report that accompanies the reclassification. There's just not many acres involved, but when we get into a reclassification, we review the watershed boundary. And there's satellite imagery that works well for that. You sometimes have to go to the field and check on culverts because those can affect it too. But the way it is on the agenda, we have it as approval of the commissioner's report for 21. So that would be that report that I was holding up. Chris, you have them approve it, and then they actually have the action later, right, afterwards?
Yeah. Yep.
So there's just two?
There's actually 4, and it's really hard to see them on the annexation. Yeah.
Okay, there's the other one. Okay.
Yeah. One of them is hidden kind of behind the 29 symbol.
That would be?
Bottom left corner, you can see section 29. There's a little piece hidden by 29.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's just,
Yep.
I probably should have moved the section numbers, but that's a little difficult on this type of drawing. So, again, the annexation part of this was put together because of the research we did related to the reclassification, just to clean it up.
Rick, is this, and I know it's not comment time, but DD 68 in regard to clean out on this ditch, is that being addressed in that? I don't have that
No,
particular.
not what we're talking about right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
That's all I need.
So it'd just be a matter of whatever action is required for, do you work with them on the wording on that, or how do you do that, Chris, as far as?
We'll just approve your report.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what you meant, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Yes, we do.
There you go, yeah. Big ifs here.
I'll make a motion to approve the commissioner's report for DD 21.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the commissioner's report on DD 21. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, what we passed.
9:15.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Make a motion to open this.
Very kind of you.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for annexation report for DD 21.
Second motion.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to open the public hearing for annexation report DD 21. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Comments?
I'll just throw one out real quick. As you can see from the locations, these are pretty typical situations where there was a piece right on the border that for whatever reason they didn't include in the original classification. Lots of times it just followed property lines, which drainage doesn't follow property lines, but it was just a lot simpler. Small areas. So with today's technology that's available, we're able to get these watersheds more accurate. I always say envision someone on horseback riding out here and determining the boundary. They did an amazingly good job. But we come up with these kinds of areas to take care of.
Any other comments?
Now, I don't know if I'm seeing the picture of the annexation stuff, but that's probably not important because I'm in it and I'm not being annexed, I don't think.
No, you're not.
Is this,
Chris, you can see these two.
are you discussing this reclassification stuff yet?
No.
Okay, then I'm still asking dumb questions.
No, you're not.
See,
We're getting
I don't
there.
have the map of the annexation.
This is the annexation.
There we go, thank you. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, they're just small areas.
Yeah, it's got 4 parcels right here.
Gary?
So there's a total of 16
That
acres.
is attractive,
Yeah. Yep.
believe it or not.
according to the plat book, Gary, you are in for a minute part of it. Up there in 22.
Yeah, that might be the good night property that is.
Yeah,
that it
that's,
is, yeah.
yes. Mhm.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for annexation report for DD 21.
Second.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to close the public hearing for DD 21. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consider approval for the annexation. Oh no.
We're on
Yeah,
number
number
7.
7.
Yeah,
You're good.
so I thought.
I'll make a motion to approve the annexation report for DD 21.
Second.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to approve the annexation report for DD 21. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Make a motion to open the public hearing, reclass.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for reclassification report for DD 21.
I'll second that. Motion by Bill, seconded by myself to open the public hearing for reclassification report for DD 21. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Comments? Yes.
Excuse me. I met with Rick late last week, and although we did not look at this property, I did not have this information in front of me. And when you're evaluating, as I visited with Rick on reclassification, that's done strictly on the basis pretty much of proximity to the ditch and soil type. However, when it comes to productivity of soil type, which is how they're assessing a lot of their, reclassification, it does not necessarily mean that it's a productive area because of undersized drainage. That can't be improved. So you may be assessing an area, of which I have some in section 22, that for the most part is not 100% productive, which you are basing on soil type because of undersized tile and drainage issues, of which this will not improve because it's undersized, period. Cleaning the ditch won't fix it. It just doesn't work. So you may need to consider that now and in the future, especially if people come to visit with you in regards to assessment, because it is basically inaccurate in some form as to the charge. It's inequitable, and we'll talk about that more when we get to 311, 5, and 7. But I see mine is classified here as.
Rick, aren't you going to get that no matter what formula you use?
Yeah, and these systems, whenever we've studied an older system, none of them are sized to today's standards. They're all undersized. I have not calculated capacities throughout this system, but I would put my life on this that those are all undersized. So, yeah, it's an effect, and some of that effect is hard to relate to because of ground elevations and things. Some of these go right through potholes, and they're wet, even with a tile through it, because it's undersized. The tile's getting loaded up, especially now with so much pattern tiling being done. We've kind of spread the point values out a little bit because of how tiling has changed. I may have talked to you about this a little bit before. With the soils, for example, clarion soils, 10 or 15 years ago, we had them paying very little because they weren't tiled. I mean, they just weren't tiling side hills like they are today, or pattern tiling whole farms like they are today. So we actually increased the points per acre on clarions as an example. One that is a little hard to deal with is okaboji. If you didn't have, it's hard to raise a good crop there anyway to get enough drainage. But if you didn't have the drainage at all, it'd be worthless. So there's significant value, even though the production might not be as good as like a Webster, for example. So right or wrong on the points is something we've developed over the years. We feel pretty good about it. It's been successful, it's been approved. Knock on wood, it's never been taken to court. The commissioners we work with are good, they're concerned, they try and do it right. I just give them directions on how we've done it before, give them every opportunity to look at the soils numbers, look at the proximity. Proximity factor, I have the second sheet on the drawing that has the blue on it. That shows the reduction factors we did for the main on this one. And you can see that we get up to a 50% reduction as you're a long ways from the, there you go, that one, yeah. And the theory there is that if you're a long ways from the part that you're assessing for, you had to pay for tile separately to get there, so you have expense. So the further you are away, for example, in this one, it's the main open ditch, the further you are away from that, the more we reduce it because it costs you more to get there. So we felt we added that factor a few years ago. It's worked out pretty well.
Who's we?
The commissioners and I.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, we used to drive around, the commissioners, whoever they were at the time, we used to drive on every piece of ground. But there was a lot of guesswork going on then because I remember asking, they were typically farmers or retired farmers, and I asked them how big they thought the pothole was. You can't get two people to agree just visually on how the size of a pothole, whereas on the soils maps, you can outline it very closely. So we feel the technology's helped us be more fair.
If you were a farmer, what would you rather have? Be close to the ditch and it cuts your 80 in half, or have to tile? Isn't there trade-offs here?
Yes, there is. In the ditch situation, that's really changed through the years. The original classifications had the people right on the ditch paying about 90% of any project costs. We have spread that out considerably because, again, how the drainage has changed, how it's being handled. Whereas when it was done initially, you eliminated a swamp where that ditch ran. About all you could raise on it was ducks. So back then, close to the ditch was good as far as your drainage because you could run right to the ditch with your own tile, but you paid dearly for it. So now we've spread that out. I'd almost personally would rather have a tile because you have all kinds of rights as far as improving that tile to get what you need. And the ditches are hardly ever undersized. So if it's easy for you to get to the ditch, but you go through tile, you have good options. So I'd say the tile.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, as I read the map here, I'm having trouble with the colors. Rick, can you help me?
Yeah.
What is the reduction for this one compared to this one?
Okay, this one's more, so one would be 30 and 135, the way it looks to me. Yeah, the colors are so close.
It's hard to read. I didn't have this map.
Yeah. You can see this color extend through here.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So that's a little bit lesser reduction, and then the next color is further away, so it jumps up one. And I'm quite sure it's the 30 and 35.
See, this one is one of mine, which lays next to this. These are very similar properties from elevation. This one is lower. There's no debate to that. I'm just wondering why it was classified.
Well, it's just, if we're over every quarter of a mile, basically, we go further, we tack on another reduction typically. Sometimes we go half a mile, but it just, your 40 happens to be slightly further from the improvements than the one to the west. Yeah, that's, yeah.
I just, it seems like it should qualify for additional 5%, but it's not gonna be life-threatening. I just couldn't tell the difference.
Well, what we use is the 40, which is the biggest you do for parcels. If any part of the parcel is within a certain distance, like we started a quarter of a mile away. If any part of it's within a quarter of a mile of the county improvements, no reduction. If it's a quarter to half, any part of it, then it's 5%, half to 3/4. And there's a couple places there where we jump half a mile, if it's a long drawn out district, because you could get so far away that you're doing 95% reduction in that. No, if there's a system anywhere close to you, there's no way you should get that kind of reduction. So it's our best attempt to be fair with it, is how I put it, I guess. And we've had comments before in hearings where, the 140 is right next to another 40 and it's significantly different, but the soils can vary so much just from one 40-acre parcel to another. That's where most of the difference comes.
Any other comments, questions?
I received a letter from the railroad and they are fine with it. So just thought I'd tell you that came.
What's the process of getting a bigger main?
We'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
We're right now we're on public hearing for DD 21. So. All right, entertain a motion to close.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for reclassification report on DD 21.
I'll second.
Motion by Terry, second by Bill to close the public hearing for reclass DD 21. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Approval of reclassification for DD 21.
I'll make a motion to approve the reclassification report for DD 21. I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the reclass or report DD 21. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. All right, DD 311, lat 5, and lat 7.
This is west of Thompson, and these drawings get hard to follow, and I'll try and explain it to make it a little more understandable to you. You can see where Thompson is. Ditch 5 and ditch 7 are hard to follow. Ditch 7 is kind of the south part of this map, and it drains to the northwest and dumps into ditch 5. Ditch 5 goes more or less east towards Thompson. It jogs around, of course, but general direction east, northeast. These laterals have significant debt on them because of repair work. We are currently working on Drainage District number 3 reclassification, the entire district. But we put priority on these two laterals so that they could be levied. And that's what's happening here, and that's why we're presenting this to you. Now, I have a few copies of lateral 5 and lateral 7 as far as how it's going to affect individual property owners. I'll give you that. I'm loading it here with, I need a briefcase to leave today. This is 5. You can see that at the top. This was spreading $26,000 on this lateral. You get an idea of what's happening there. I'm also going to give you lot 7. And you can glance through and see who's involved in these. Again, we'll be back with the entire District 3 reclass fairly soon, along with a couple others. Same general process involved. Soils, proximity, the usual. And you run into those situations like you were talking about, where how do you deal with loss of production? And about the only soil I can think of that maybe have significant question on is that Okoboji. With commissioners, we've worked, that number has stayed the same for a lot of years because the commissioners felt that was fair. Now it does end up hitting some people with Okoboji fairly hard, especially if they have a large area. So again, it's hard to take into account holding areas. For example, some of those Okobojis might be where the tile runs through it, the county tile, might be an intake there. And sometimes there's times when it comes out of the intake instead of going in. What kind of factor you put on that is the big question, I guess. The commissioners have left it at 90 points on the Okoboji. Yeah, and that's how we've submitted it to you. I did meet with Gary on site, pointed out some spots where it appears that that exact thing happens, where water comes out of the intake at times, ponds for a period. So how do you adjust for that? Nobody's reclassification reports get into profiling all the laterals, seeing where it would pond. You can see where it ponds from soil conditions typically, but how much ponding and for how long, you can't get into that kind of detail, and it's not an exact science anyway. What condition is the tile? Did they step the size up where they should? You could spend a year analyzing a system like this, and I'm not sure it'd be much different. Years ago, one drainage consultant asked any of us involved in reclassification to submit a summary of how we did things. They were all different, but the end result seemed to come out pretty darn close. It's just not an exact science. When the code says the land getting the most benefit gets 100 points per acre, and you graduate the benefit down based on lesser benefit. Period. So there's no scientific involvement at all. So through the years we've tried to develop something that works.
I believe most of the engineers have gotten pretty close to doing the same things now too.
Yeah, it took some time, but yeah. Yeah, when we did everything in the field, it was very different then. And I'm sure I've told you before that I've been stuck the worst ever in a side hill seat doing a reclassification about 15 years ago. Took a tractor to get me out. Learned early in my drainage career to drive over the tile. It's where you can drive. So, anyway.
Do you think that from a state perspective and the statutes, do you think that it would behoove the farmers to get together and rewrite a lot of drainage law?
I think there's room for that, yes. And one thing that would be gained from that, there's no easements recorded for county tile that I've seen anywhere. But yet there's a tile on the farm, it's a county tile, there's an understood easement over it, but abstractors and things, if you're buying a farm, there's no red flags to be raised. For example, if you were buying a farm and there was a large assessment coming in 6 months, you wouldn't necessarily know if you were the buyer. So I think there needs to be something in the law about recording easements, making them official. It'd probably be worthwhile to get landowners and drainage engineers together to sit down and talk through this. If they could come, well, work me out of work, but a system that would work for evaluating benefit that could be followed by everybody and use the same process, that would be wonderful. The legislature has tried to do that, haven't come up with anything. So any ideas would be appreciated, how to handle that.
Once again, it's one of those things, I'm not so sure I want something mandated by the state.
There you go. Yeah, that's the other side of it.
Be able to work with an engineer and determine what's best for our local area.
I like that. It gives you some flexibility. And I don't care how long you've done this, and I've been at it a long time, you come across things you haven't seen before. And then you can allow for it.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I just wrote a letter yesterday. I talked to 2 other drainage engineers about an issue we had on a ditch. And in my letter I said, combined we have over 100 years of drainage experience because there aren't that many drainage engineers, and I'm proud of the work we do.
Well, it's definitely something I think should be addressed. We'll be talking about it when we get to Ron. He's got a farm that next to him that was pattern tiled, and it's higher than his. He tied into the system. The system was already full. So should that be allowed? Should it not be allowed? You know, and it's now, his neighbor's farm is now bubbling up on his farm. So,
yeah.
Military tactic of taking the high ground is becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay.
So yeah, that's where we're at with this one. I know Gary's got some concerns on his because of some of the situations we've talked about, and I'll certainly let him talk to you about that. Express his feelings on it.
Open comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick and I met and looked at this after getting hold of Chris and getting some maps. And this 40 I have in section 27. There is a tile there which runs over to lateral number 7 ditch. And what happens is we have the extenuating circumstances of agriculturally rain percolates through the soil. Okay, the city of Thompson surface drains into this whole thing to their mains, and it comes out there and it'll rain and 40's fine, and then 5 hours later we got it up the top of the fence post. And these are the extenuating circumstances that Rick was alluding to. It has nothing to do with soil type. It's because of an issue and productivity again, which is extenuating over and above, you know, which area that the soil type. At the very least, it needs to be classified at the maximum reduction of, I don't expect no assessment. I'm not asking for that. I just want it to be assessed at the maximum reduction. And that's at 40, and it's actually about, I don't know, 36.5 acres. There's a little area that I don't have, so it's some bends on it. And that's where that Y comes up, just to the left of 27. It's a 40. Additionally, right to the west of that, there's an 80, of which do not have the building site. And that area also undersized, but certainly doesn't have the issues that section 27 has. But I would ask that that go to the next reduction of 20%. So that would be the north half of the east 80 and the south east 1/4 of section 28. And then this other 40, section 27,
That would be Roger Olson's,
Just south of Roger Olson.
just south of Roger. Okay, yours then?
Mine.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. And you can see a portion that is cut off, it's not effective. In that.
The Thompson issue is something that's an extenuating circumstance, and it's hard for commissioners to
You wouldn't know
come
it.
up with, yeah.
You wouldn't know it.
That's right,
The supervisors wouldn't know it if I didn't tell you.
yeah.
I asked Chris if I should take Bill to look at it. He says, no, take Rick. Because he's the man that understands that part of life. I talked to Bill and he says, okay, I'll get over Rick. But this is the reality of it. I'd be glad to have you drive by it after it rains hard because water comes up. You can talk to Kingsley Johnson. It's not debatable. It just is. Yeah, I expect to be assessed something. I just would like to have it. And the adjoining properties around it aren't necessarily as effective because of elevation.
Comes up sharply from the pothole.
I mean, it's just how it is. I didn't design it, but that's how it worked out with the city of Thompson. And, it's, in all truthfulness, it's wrong.
It boils back up out of the intake, is that it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what would happen if the city of Thompson did something with their issues? Then do we put that reduction back up for you? Because then it was taken care of?
I don't think that that's going to happen ever because this is the way the water runs. Water runs down.
I don't know.
What is the legality of putting a valve on your
Intake.
intake?
Well,
One-way valve or whatever. I got posed this question from another farmer the other day, and I wasn't exactly sure whether you could actually, so other people's water doesn't boil up out of your intake. You won't be able to stop it from, underneath the ground if it's perforated or whatever.
One disadvantage that can happen with that is that might create more internal pressure in the system and cause blowouts. I think you could be liable for any damages that occurred from it, but if the system was a good system and good materials, and you could get by with it and probably help yourself.
His theory is he's just keeping other people's water off his property. He's not impeding the flow through the tile.
Right.
It'll just take them longer to drain because his ground isn't taking
isn't taking on the pond. Yeah.
The head pressure could be incredible. You could have the biggest freaking mess you've ever seen. That would never work with this property, nor would I consider it.
Yeah,
water runs downhill.
And I'm just curious on the legality of it. I'm not saying that I suggest it be done.
I think in technical drainage, you cannot impede the flow of water.
And it would end up a court question. Is that impeding water? Well, it's still following the same path. The pipe still has the same capacity, but you're just not providing a holding pond. I don't think you'd get drainage in
Ground
there.
never used to be that holding pond before they put the tile there.
Yeah.
So then you got the legal issue of.
I would guarantee you'd get an argument even between drainage attorneys on that issue, but that'd be a great question for IDDA. I try and keep a list. I haven't started my list yet for this year's, but yeah. And the issue with easements has come up before, but nothing's been resolved. So.
Near the experience you have figured out that all's not fair about water drainage.
Oh my gosh, no. Now, just as a point of procedure, if you choose to make some adjustment, you do not have to republish and do all that. What drainage attorneys tend to agree on is if you make a reduction on a parcel, you're not, even though it'll have a very minor effect maybe on the cost another 40 pays, you're not affecting the benefit of that other parcel because the points of that other parcel are not changing just because you change one parcel. So you could do all that at this meeting if you chose to make some kind of adjustment. That confused you there.
Not necessarily in the same district, but if we went to another district and had, I'm trying to figure out how to ask the question. Gary is saying that it should be on productivity, but, you could have so many different formulas that it could change for every farmer, correct?
Yes.
And so, shouldn't the question be, we need to come up with something that we're gonna not necessarily stick to dogmatically, but, some policy.
Yeah.
Policy.
Yeah. That's a great idea. It's how do you come up with it? Because his is kind of what you call a situation where it's all working against that 40 because you have a town draining into it. It's in an area where the parcels around it don't have the Okoboji. The parcels around it come up sharply, so there's a lot of relief out there.
Well, Gary could have a farm that benefits from soil type and not productivity, and it is negative towards another person in that district. So I guess my question is, how do we have a standard and be fair across the board?
I'm thinking what I'll do is talk to multiple commissioners about their feelings on the Okoboji soil. That one in particular has some issues. How do you handle them? Is it if it's in a ponding situation like Gary has, do we look at lower points for it? There's Okoboji locations where they benefit greatly because you've got a good system close or right through it. I believe this one is so undersized, not just because they were undersized when they were built, but because of the Thompson water.
So, how much Thompson water is coming? It's all farmland, isn't it?
No.
That tile runs right up. City's on Ayers property from there, right?
There's maps showing county tile running over most of the way through Thompson.
Goes right underneath the big circle.
I think that's the one, yeah.
Their dump pit.
Yeah.
It goes right underneath that, and it goes right up across
But you're talking about this up in the north end?
Yeah, the elevator's property here. I don't know why, the tile's not on this map, is it?
Probably private or not part of the official record somehow.
Well, no, it's county tile because we just had an issue with it.
Okay, and I'll bet it just somehow it's not in the record.
Public tree roots in,
Oh, okay, that's
the
that
mayor's
one.
property.
Okay.
I can't say it. Clarence, yeah.
That's right here.
And this tile comes, it runs right underneath the elevator circle and goes right across Dan's property.
But that seems like the north part. Why is that affecting this other?
That's how it runs.
The tile goes down, it runs right down.
Oh, it goes
into here
this
somewhere.
direction, because I thought it all went north.
No.
Not that one.
Because
it was plugged with tree
look at
roots.
this one, I remember when I worked for the city of Thompson, this one did flow north.
That part, and then there's another one going out. Where's, there, look at that real map.
Yeah, that one would be better to look at probably.
It doesn't show anything different than this.
No.
Well, then it's on the one that you can pull up on your tablet or whatever.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Because I remember that. Seeing it, because it was a county tile, because it Dan's registration.
On the,
Sure.
on the county website, that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was surprised it was one.
Yeah, it's,
Regardless, the water comes from Thompson. Heavy.
And it comes from that tile.
Yes. Yeah. Comes across there. Not asking to not have some assessment, but this is extenuating. This is over and above your basic agricultural problem. I got similar issues by rate. I'll just leave it alone. But this one is not.
Should any property then that ends up taking other people's water, backing up intakes, get a break?
You know, I think you have to evaluate these on what's going on
Kane Township.
I certainly have that issue by
Section 20.
Buffalo Centerville because of the runoff from,
Section.
surface runoff.
My
Maybe,
house.
sure, you go on, but this is
I think Gary
unfixable
Crowell was
because of
Yeah, Kroll's are involved in that.
The head
Kroll's
pressure.
need to work on it.
the head pressure coming that way, it just comes up and, they had to repair that intake last year. And that's not from water going down, it's water going up. It's nothing we've done, it's in the fence line, but it's from water coming up. And it's a huge intake, but that's what they've done to relieve it. If you want me to undersize the intake, all we're gonna have is just more blowout issues. We don't wanna go there, we don't want constant expense. But now is the time of reclassification, and I'm asking you to consider it because it's, as Rick stated, extenuating and not your basic.
Is it even, is it feasible to, people that are taking other people's water from the high ground, and the only reason it's ever getting to their property is because of the tile? Is that ever taken into consideration as far as, your drainage assessment?
Typically no, because it's without doing some way to check every parcel for intakes, you don't know where it's happening. So it's a factor we don't typically get into.
What are we looking at here?
That's lower.
Gary, you want to hit the light switch right behind you?
No.
Thank you.
Oh, now I can see.
10 or less.
Click on that parcel 001, please. Which one's yours, Gary?
I'm not seeing it.
It's down in the lower corner there, probably. Left.
That's not it.
Left is his.
Here's the road.
There's Kingsley's place.
Yeah, it's right there where the Y is.
There you go.
Right here?
Right there.
That one,
That's it.
yeah.
Tomsey and Thompson line, so.
No, there's no official documentation that we've seen for tile, but it's there.
It's there.
Click on the.
Yeah,
frontage.
you know. Cause you.
I saw some map that showed it.
There was a
I won't doubt
large
it.
project done coming out from the city there. And they did increase the size of that, but that was previous to my ownership.
And I'm sure it's a county tile too. I don't believe it's a private tile.
I don't think it is, but, that was previous to my ownership. Dean Thorland drew it to my attention.
Can you zoom out again?
No.
Nope.
Y'all try real hard.
Because that's DD 102, right, Gary? That you're in?
But I think this is,
Must be the old map.
Can you do the drainage districts, please?
you guys do it,
It's.
Yeah.
I don't,
Or is it 110?
I don't have that drainage map in front of me. And this is lateral 5. DD3, according to this, lateral 5.
Well, I know, but you're actually in a different district that drains into that lateral 3.
There could be some smaller size that goes to that.
Yeah. So that's why those lateral numbers look different, because it's in a physically different district. It just drains into that open ditch of lat 7.
Yeah, I don't have that.
That's
map.
why they're in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But there isn't another county tile coming from Thompson.
But Bill, you're saying you worked on one in the Thompson area, got roots out of it?
Yeah, because it.
But yeah, we didn't find any records of county tile.
You know where Neil Payton built the new shed?
That's
Yeah.
another district.
That tile runs underneath there, goes across Dan Swearingen's, and then goes out underneath the circle.
It's right here. that one right there, it goes north.
So then scroll the map up, please.
Well, the city of Thompson definitely comes out there, you can ask Kingsley.
That's what you think.
Neil Payton's is right here.
So,
Dan, and then goes past Dan Swearingen.
Whoa.
There's the circle.
Don't know what I did, sorry.
you're good. You're good. So that's that main that goes,
Okay.
and then that lot too.
That goes to the northwest.
That shows
Red
the
lights
left
do.
tile up out of the west of the center.
Yeah, no, but that's not what I'm thinking of. For some reason, well, it goes straight west across the Jones property, I thought, and then it goes.
Mike, where's your little
Goes
laser?
down, it goes underneath, that must be. a
Laser in there,
private
Bill?
tile. What?
Laser in there?
Yeah, there's one there somewhere. Laser yourself.
So the big question is, does any of the system from Thompson actually go that way?
So I think this right here, Terry, is the one that you guys are talking about.
Right, and it goes north.
Yeah. There isn't one.
You remember one
That's the
going
one we replaced right before he got on board.
Yeah.
Willie had died, I was covering for the FEMA project, and we had to replace a bunch of that right
Yeah.
at that angle.
But there isn't a county that goes down to your property down there.
There is tile.
But it's not county.
Whether you call it county or not, I don't know,
Yeah.
all I know is
There's
I'm getting there
I
wrong.
believe it's-
Right, no, and I agree. I'm just trying to make that there
I believe
isn't
it's
a
like
county
it's like a
district
16
tile.
inch.
There's a great big tile that comes
Just
up
to the
there.
southwest of that circle pit that the Townsend elevator uses there, it goes right underneath that and it goes out to the southwest. And it's a fairly good sized tile.
I think
Cause I looked down in the hole, looked at it myself, there was a blowout there, Kroll fixed it, but it must be a private tile.
Well, I don't know if the city of Thompson would have any records of it, but I do know that it comes from there because the surface runoff and the percolation would not allow the pressure that happens at this time.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time a parcel's drained two different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, cause Bill, here's Neil's, that's that tile.
Where's that?
That's Neil's right
Where's
there.
the circle for the elevator?
And then that's up in here.
That's up in there.
Just because the map shows us there doesn't mean it runs that way.
Drag the picture down.
That isn't why.
That's the circle.
There we go.
Yeah. So Neil Payton has that property right there, and that's that tile that went through. So
Yeah,
can
okay,
you
and it
get
goes
off
down
that
to
name?
but there's,
So that lateral right here,
yeah.
but it stops right there.
Let me
That's
see
the only
clearance. And there's another tile that comes from here, then it goes from that circle and it goes down this
There you
way.
go.
That's what you saw?
That's what they were fixing.
Okay.
And maybe they were fixing it privately and I was just dealing with the issue for the,
We were just
Just
dealing
right
with
up here.
that one, yeah.
Okay.
Because if you can prove
Mhm.
that there's.
because they went in there and dug too.
Making a difference. Below it, all of that comes my way.
So evidently it's a private tile that goes out there to that direction.
Must be.
And I just remember it wrong. I can't believe that.
I know, if you look at that, where the line is, the gray area, and that divide, that triangle there that's in between all of them, that's the high spot. That's, elevation of 1,278. So you've got a high point there that drains every direction. That's why it's not in a district, it just kind of,
No, that's DD1, that gray area.
but anyway, there's a high point west of town there that kind of divides everything on the line there.
If you can make the maps, small,
Zoom back.
Smaller?
not that minus sign, yeah.
So there should be a cushion between this district and the city where DD1 provides the cushion and heads it east.
If you keep zooming out, Carla.
It goes around that south end down to that ditch.
It doesn't show different colors for 3 and 1. They're the same color. Maybe scroll out again.
This one?
Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, we have DD1 and DD3 of the same color, so it's hard to know which one goes which way.
This one might.
But anyway, back to the reduction.
I'm fine if you want to talk to Kingsley about the pressure there. It's not an issue. He'll attest to the fact that we can call him on the phone. But that's what it is. It's the non-percolation and the extenuating circumstances of the accelerated runoff from the city of Thompson. And it was a large drainage project that worked on this. So, but regardless, this is not your basic soil type assessment.
And Rick, in reviewing these, when you do the reclass, you don't necessarily know about that tile.
No.
So it would be the same thing when, when we had DD 103, where the landowner has to come in and tell us.
Yes.
And then we can review it. I don't think there's a policy that we need to make. I think it's just.
That's why we're here today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just keep going with what the landowners say, then we make notes of it, and then we go about our day.
And that's, Bill, I'm glad you worked on it, because otherwise we wouldn't know for sure that it's there. I mean, we know something's there now just because you've seen it. And since it's not on any of the county maps, we have no way to know.
Who farms that ground right there, just to the southwest of the circle? Does Kroll farm that?
Well, if there's a Crow property, then there's a whole 80 in there. I think Al Prestigard farms that whole.
Glenn Kroll was the one that was repaired. Evidently that was a private repair.
How about the parcel right to the east of that, Carla, to the right? Of the, down, left, that one.
I think that's,
Oh, the co-op owns that one, okay. I didn't know how far they went
they
down.
own the circle. I think south of that might be Crow's.
And then how about the one south where you're at right now?
That was the Hove.
Yeah, that's the whole,
To the left there.
to the left. Yeah,
What's that one?
That one, yeah.
Mhm.
So to the right there, does it say Crow or?
Hove, it's the co-op.
The Kroll farms the co-op's ground evidently.
Good.
Seems like.
Does it say how many acres on that one?
16.39.
16.39. Well, that'd be about right.
Oops, sorry.
Ah. So, where do you want to go for today?
I guess I'd rather go take a look at it,
Okay.
physically look at.
So should we just continue this hearing? Okay, and then we can keep moving?
It's up to you, I mean, what do you want to do?
Well, we need to look at it, I guess. Well, I mean,
I had Bill there last year for intake repair, and Rick has looked at it with me. There's no debate to the fact that it's extenuating. It's not your basic farm drainage issue, guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But all I want is just whatever the maximum reduction would be on that 30-some acres. So I'm not asking for the world on a half section. It just is inaccurate because of what's going on. So we're not going to try to put in any shutoffs or anything. It just doesn't work that way.
Okay. Put that on, next week or too short a time? We don't get it?
No.
Put that in the agenda for next week.
I may not be able to be here because of planting. So,
Hopefully, right?
well, I hope.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So please give me the consideration you can. If you'd like to talk to Kingsley, Bill, I'd like to have you visit with him, because he'll attest to the fact Several hours later, here it comes. And it's just how it is. That's not your basic farm drainage.
And it's not coming from other farm ground, you're sure it's coming from the city of Thompson?
Ask Kingsley, because that's the information I received, and I believe it's tremendously accurate. It's accelerated runoff from, city. And this is the holding basin.
We'll get them out of it. We need to move on, we're an hour behind.
No, I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Public hearing?
one second. I don't know, are you in you all pay into lat 5? I just wondered which hearing we're gonna continue.
Oh, good point.
Or if we're continuing both.
7 that he's concerned about, right?
Right, but 7 pays into 5 also.
We'll do them both.
So-
Right.
I'm asking for consideration on both lat 5 and lat 7 on that.
Yeah,
part.
okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, make a motion to open the public hearing for reclass DD 311 lat 5. Oh no, we're gonna hold off on that, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, we should just continue it all.
Yeah.
And not even open the public hearings for those.
Okay,
So if we set a date.
Do you have any other
and we
questions,
need to
though, since you're
continue it,
here?
Then we don't need to.
Not right now.
Okay,
okay, we'll set a date.
Just wanna know what the answers are.
okay, for what he's got,
Who's got?
or for
No,
Gary.
yours is for an improvement.
Mine's an improvement.
Right, sorry, my apologies,
Right, I'm
I
on.
forgot, yep.
Are we done?
What is my number?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, though. You gotta put one on there.
Yeah.
I gotta go to the bathroom, so.
Do that quick, yep.
Hurry, no.
Continue all of the reports for,
Public hearing.
in public hearings for DD 311 lat 5 and lat 7 until May 22nd.
What time?
Yeah, time wise.
Let's see if there's anything else on the agenda.
So do I need to republish this?
No,
Cause
as long as you continue it and set a date in the meeting, you don't need to republish.
okay, so I don't need to tell the landowners? Okay,
No,
cause nobody had a question besides Gary, so we're good.
I have a conflict next week, but I don't know if do you,
Well,
10.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks would definitely work, if that's okay. I don't want to cause you problems.
No, that'd everybody be done planting by then.
Well, that's possible.
No, let's hope that you are.
Next week.
I don't think the property's gonna change any, and I'm not asking for a lot here. I just think it's classic.
9:05.
So we're going to what day?
29.
29.
Chris, did you see the agenda in here for 2
I'll amend my motion for the 29th.
Pick a time.
Maybe I didn't make one.
It's here. I just couldn't.
So we're open for times.
Yeah,
We'll do it
just want to do 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock, okay.
Bill, let me know when you can talk to Kingsley, and I'll get you in touch with him and
I'll
he'll
second.
visit with you further, because he lives there. He witnesses this.
Yeah.
Okay, motion by Bill, second by Terry to extend items 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 on our agenda to May 29th at 9 o'clock. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll move on to open the public hearing for report TD 103.
That should be just,
I'll make a motion to do that.
should,
I'll second.
Thank you.
Motion by Terry, second by Bill to open the public hearing for annexation report DD 103. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Just a reminder where we're dealing with here in the main tile systems.
have a good day.
This has been continued from previous hearings. Basically, there were 2 laterals that were no longer used as county laterals. I can't remember the numbers on them.
The lateral 3 and lateral 5.
Yeah.
Lateral 3 is a private ditch that we did not know was a private ditch.
And we did an adjustment on a parcel there, and what we have now is that report with the adjustments. The 2 laterals taken out.
Right west of Lake Mills.
So this lateral right here was actually an open ditch, and it's private. And then there's a little lateral 5 that came off of that.
So are all of these laterals?
So these
private?
laterals are still good. 4 and 6 we still have because they do dump in there. But lateral 5 we took out, and the lateral 3.
Good summary.
There was not any paperwork in our history that it was private until a landowner brought in a copy of it. So now that will be in the minutes.
Comments?
Does everything sound good to you so far?
He's on the same team I am.
So what were the 2 that were taken out, 5 and?
3. 3 is the open ditch that goes south from the open, and then lateral 5 went west.
And who owns it?
Conservation has a part of it.
Yeah.
I have to get out my other folder. I forget the gentleman's name that even came in.
Yeah, me too.
Martinson, yep, Vern Martinson.
Bernie Martinson?
Yeah, Vern, I remember a note I had Vern.
Yep.
Does he own it or does his land?
I don't know who owns it right now, but
So-
it was a agreement between Myrtle Schultz, Oswald Rognus, and Vern Martinson Sr. that came up with this easement and mutual drainage agreement for that open ditch. And then they take care of that lateral 5 is in, I don't know why we took out that lateral 5.
I think that's the one that they eliminated because it came from.
Oh yeah, they
the
eliminated
underground.
it when they did the ditch.
Yeah,
When they dug that ditch,
Yeah.
they took out that tile, that's why it's not.
Yeah.
Yep,
they replaced it, yeah.
yep. So it's no longer there.
It's basically right where the first D of DD 103 is.
Yeah. Yeah, so does that make sense to you? Okay. And then those 3 landowners, continue to they'll clean that. But the 2 laterals that go east are still district tiles, they are still operable.
Was it Vern that had equipment? I can't remember who had the equipment. Somebody had
Vern
equipment.
had been
Okay.
cleaning it. And then they just take care of it between the 3 of them. I don't see any record
Don't
of
have to
that.
deal with it, right. Yeah, and that's information we didn't have at the time of this reclass, so we couldn't allow for it. So that's why we filed the amendment with those 2 laterals removed and then the other adjustment.
So do you have new paperwork on that then? Or that'll be coming out or?
I think what I sent you is the new.
Oh, could be.
Didn't, in my last letter, did I not send it?
Okay.
I can make a copy of,
But it reflects the change.
yeah, because there isn't a lateral 5 or lateral 3 in here.
Yep.
Anymore.
Okay. Yep.
No rush. Is that it? Take motion to close the meeting. Sorry. Motion by Terry, second by Bill to close the public hearing for DD 103. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of annexation report DD 103.
Let me give you, I don't think I gave you the annexation report again here.
And that was the one we originally took out part of Susan's. And so it went down to, I think, 3 parcels. Yeah. But we've never officially approved it.
So that's what we're after today.
Thank you.
This one, I'm not even sure we can pick out the parcels. I think there's just the one that shows.
I think most of it was the county, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, by far the biggest addition was Winnebago County roads. at 12.7 acres, because the total annexation is 15.77.
Is, the Peterson property there, is that the next part on the curve?
Yeah, that's southeast of 4.
That map
Yes.
really isn't, it should be on the south side of that line. Well, maybe not, I don't know. According to driving it, it should be.
Oh, okay.
It's right as far as the road is concerned, but
Well, there's just 2
the
parcels.
legal description is probably right.
Okay.
I'm sure it is. They got a bad lawyer.
There you go.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the annexation report for DD 103. I'll second it. Motion by myself, seconded by Bill to approve the annexation report for DD 103. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Open the public, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for reclass report DD 103.
I'll second it.
Motion by myself, seconded by Terry to open the public hearing for reclass 103. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Comments? I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for reclass 103.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Bill to close the public hearing for reclass DD 103. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll make a motion to approve the reclassification report for DD 103.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Terry to approve the reclass for report DD 103. All in favor? Finish? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, DD 1, sub 1, lat 2.
Let me give you an update here. We have sized the tile for possible improvements. We've looked at 1/2 inch and 1 inch coefficients. This existing system is very, very undersized. I think this is the one that had like an 1/8 inch drainage coefficient. I like just saying the title of this ditch. If you went through it, including everything you'd want to include is DD number 1, lat 4, sub 1, L2. So it's just,
Yep.
yeah.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
This is your number. You're out.
Okay, it's a little hard to see because I just copied this in color, but the red kind of at the middle towards it in the top half of this is the areas we looked at.
Oh, sure. Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
An extra one too?
Yes.
Because
She's on my team.
Ah, okay.
actually, I farm right next to it.
Okay. Do you want me to make another copy?
Where the tree roots were.
Pardon?
I guess, yeah,
Do you want me to make a copy quick?
well, I think so, because I don't have more of the, yeah.
We got water down there.
Yeah.
Got water down the driveway.
That's because it comes from here and goes to here.
One day it was going north. Now today, at 8:30, we did another check. It's going south.
The best part of this system has just over a 1/8 inch drainage coefficient. I mean, it stinks as far as capacity. Because we went through looking at sizes and yeah, we looked at 4 different stretches of it. The best we got was one piece of it was just over an 1/8. One was exactly an 1/8 and 2 of them are less than a 1/8 inch drainage coefficient. So, we looked at improvements. This is not a formal report. I'm considering this an update to get you information, because I was thinking that, was this one you wanted to meet with landowners and talk about this? Was that one of these?
Well, it's probably gonna have to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just an informal. Yeah, that'd be appropriate. So as part of this, I put together cost estimates based on sizes for 1/2 inch and 1 inch drainage coefficient. I felt good about, months and months ago, I gave one landowner an approximate cost based on having no information. And I said about $500 an acre. Well, as it turns out, the half-inch drainage coefficient comes out to an average cost of $508 an acre. So you'd have, half-inch coefficient would even give you 4 to 6 times the drainage you have out there now. If you jump to a 1-inch coefficient, that's getting it all the way to the ditch with the 1 inch. That average cost jumps to $729 an acre. Either one is a lot of money, but what you gain from these is amazing for drainage.
The ditch can take it away.
Yes, correct. Now, typically, the ditches are not a problem compared to the tile, because the tile, well, like you're dumping an 1/8 inch drainage coefficient tile into a ditch that's probably between a 1 and 2 inch coefficient. So it's hard to overload a ditch with tile. With surface water, yeah, you can. But with the tile, no. The tile gives you more of an ongoing drainage system that is always taking water out and getting it down, so you have a reservoir there to hold some water in the next rain event. So. Again, I apologize, it's just handwritten, but I thought at this point, we're more interested in the numbers than how neat the estimate looked.
So we had reclassified this one already.
As part of 81, yes. And we'd have to look at that again, but it wouldn't take much at all. If they decided to do a project, it wouldn't take much to redo that. We've got all the acre figures, all the soils. Yeah. One day's time, we could probably turn that around. So, yeah, with an improvement, it just takes a petition. I believe it's 2 landowners for an improvement. Yeah, there's some question on that too, but, and then you authorize a report, and I'm 4 hours from putting a complete report together probably, because I've got all the figures. And these would be typed up in our office, made part of the report. We'd have a location map, we already know where it is.
You put in a request.
So all the calculations have been done that we need to finish the report. It's just not report form.
Renter can do a second. So do you need another, you have one that has already requested that, right?
It was a petition for this.
A petition. Ron did that?
Last fall.
Yeah.
Do you need a second
For an improvement.
for the improvement?
So, but, it's one of those things, if it's not questioned, it's fine, but Chris, do you remember what attorneys have been saying as far as the improvement with 1 or 2 signatures? I thought an improvement's at 2. So I didn't review that.
I haven't reviewed that.
I haven't reviewed, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the code.
Yeah, and I didn't look at it again.
The more the better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, if you can get 2 or 3, it's great.
In this particular case, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I didn't remember there were.
There's only 8 landowners.
What's the law on that? Like my brother and 2 sisters own the farm together. Is it only 1 signature for Peterson Farm or 4?
Depends on how that is written up, how the ownership technically is. Like if they're equal, I'll say it.
Quarter. That's how it's wrote up.
Okay.
But you're all in agreement, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 1, don't worry about it.
You guys each got your names on
I
the
will
order.
estimate
Yep.
for landowners.
No,
It's a
each one, no, wait.
It's all under one name?
All one name.
On the,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
One name with 3 people with same interest in it or whatever.
Yep.
Okay. You'd be 3 landowners. Yeah, and it takes, to stop a project like this, it takes at the hearing, at or before the hearing, takes majority of the landowners, and you say there's how many?
There's
9?
8.
And 9?
Well, 9 with the Winnebago County.
70% of the land or something.
Yes, and they have to own 70% of the land to stop the project. Otherwise, it can go forward.
70%, okay.
Of the land, yeah. They have to be majority of the landowners, and those landowners have to own at least 70% of the land.
So what I will do is if we set up an informational hearing, I would get that information together to let you know how much everyone owns and how many you need to get a remonstrance and all that.
How do you know how many acres that I
Based on what your parcel says.
see it on here?
No, it's not on there. On the computer, it would tell me how much, you know, your parcel that ends in 001, it would tell me how many acres you have on that parcel and then the other two. And that's how we determine it.
Yeah, because I got half the farm going to the north ditch and half the farm going to the south ditch.
It'd be interesting to see how her.
Yeah, and I don't know. Right offhand, I'd have to look. On that screen that Carla had up before, I can pull it up that way too.
Because if you turn the situation around, I know what you're doing. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm assuming you wanna go forward.
Well, I'd like to get something rolling.
Yes.
Can't go this way. Otherwise I'm going to have fish instead of corn.
You know how many of your acres are in there?
Well, I got half the farms going north to the north ditch.
Yeah.
The 20 is going to the north ditch. I don't know. One time was 12%. I remember that.
Now, I think Alan Olson is in between there.
Alan Olson, Margie owns that.
Okay.
And then
he was in favor of it.
Yeah, and Sharon has got the south. See what happened to sister and brother. Roger had the south half, Margie's got the north half, and then Roger bought the 80 from Chuck Bieran, and that's in the other half, the other, Maine, or Maine it is. On the west side.
Still the same lateral. But
right, same lateral. That's
Who's that name as far as ownership?
That'd be Sharon.
Sharon Johnson? Okay.
Used to be the Chuck Bieran farm.
Okay.
That's the Johnson legacy, 345 acres.
How many?
No, it's just under Sharon Johnson.
Under Sharon Johnson.
Who's Johnson legacy there then?
Maybe that's what it's under on the plat.
But Sharon's got the south 40 of the home place, and then Sharon's got the 80 to the east. Then Corey Cox has got the next 80. And then Mark Ellis, or Tiny Ellis, has got the road 80.
that's the one that's high that dumps under this.
Yeah, they're both higher.
But
Corey Cox is higher than I am.
He's got quite a bit of tile in there.
Yeah. But the one day last week, it was coming backwards and going back up the tile. Water's going north.
Because there's 2 10-inch, the main and the lateral. The lateral up the lateral.
It's only about where the intake is down by the driveway is only about 300 feet from the main, and it don't get there.
And they go into a 14-inch.
Yeah.
If I had a 1/8 inch drainage coefficient, you can just imagine the kind of backups there'd be.
How easy it is to go the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It does. I was surprised one day, went down and stuck the pole on, and I looked, and there's some trash down there, and it was pushing north to the pot.
So besides the Doherty at the bottom, you've got a little bit of Salmonson's too?
Yeah. They're just too small tiles for
There's some
the
cost
water.
estimates I ran for the
So was a
landlord.
bunch of additional tiling done? Did Corey do a bunch of additional tiling there?
It's
2 different sheets.
Anderson did.
Oh, it's 2 different sheets.
Yeah, one's
No,
the
because
273 and
it
one's the
never-
392.
There was never that problem
No.
before that.
Yeah, and what you're dealing with is everybody has the right to do whatever tiling they want to do.
Yeah.
State burdens these homes.
Yep.
This pressure, is this too much pressure?
Yeah.
When do you want to wait to have a meeting?
I'm ready. You're not ready? I
So,
don't like this, having a tile meeting. it gets to be too many disagreements to me.
Well, there's only gonna be 9 of you.
Well, you're gonna have to get it in your mind, there are gonna be disagreements here.
Yeah.
So, and it's just,
And an
We're gonna
improvement,
have
we
to-
have to have a public hearing. We can't
Yeah, I know.
not have one.
Yeah, I gotta go.
So do you wanna skip the informational hearing then and just have, or skip the informational part and just go right to a
yes.
public hearing?
Whatever's best.
So then we don't have a report to approve right
No,
now.
I'll get you one.
Yeah.
See if I can get you one in 2 weeks
Do
here.
we have petition? A good enough petition?
Well, in essence, this isn't any hurry, because it's not gonna help you this year anyway.
Nope.
So,
Right,
we have to.
just timing, that's not, yeah.
I have-
that fast.
Both.
Now, one of the things that's gotta be realized here, is that you have to have your paperwork at the NRCS down.
But she's not a landowner.
That would be the best situation. Yeah, and I don't think there was a wetland letter sent out for this because we weren't sure it was gonna go until after you had your informational meeting. So,
Right.
That probably, yeah, that's smart. Before we spend any money on engineering, we probably should have that. You gotta clear it through the,
NRCS. Then if there's areas it goes through that are wetlands, it might have to be non-perforated in that area, but they determine what we can do.
See, if it was, in this tile, it was called the wetlands. I don't even know if I'm not supposed to have wetlands in a way.
Okay.
What
it
happens?
doesn't matter, it's in the district. If it improves any wetland in the district, that
That could throw
you out of it.
Really?
The best would just be go to talk to them.
Well, I don't think I have it.
Yeah.
There's a form you have to fill out to have a wetland determination form.
I've never had.
I'd just go take that line orders, take that over and say, is there any wetland in this property?
And if they do determine it, just argue with them.
Yeah, because my dad,
There's tile there, it just doesn't work well.
good point.
yeah, because my dad
Very
had
good point.
3 lines in there when he farmed it. And I know I put a line in the last 20 years or 15 years.
Because they determine wetland by how many years out of a set of years you're flooded. Well, flooding is because the tile hasn't been working properly.
More
It goes
recent,
by a grove, the grove infiltrates the roots into the system.
more recently, they've adopted a procedure though that will allow them to consider the tile as in new condition.
Okay.
If this was an 8-inch tile working perfectly, how would that affect the wetland situation? They allow themselves to do that now. So that helps.
I've seen a little easing up on it.
Yes.
Because I had a crop there, I had a crop in the whole farm last year. Year before, and the year before, I had a crop there too until I got the beans out and got about 6-7 inches of rain. And the ducks, about 500 ducks took all that corn I left in the water. In fact, I had a guy from Thompson call me up and ask if he could hunt in there. So he called me up. He hunted this.
Did you make good money on that?
No, I didn't.
You wanted some corn-fed ducks?
Yeah, they ate all the corn too. Ate every bit of it.
Out there.
We typically, in projects like this, we send out a letter we kind of have a standard form we send out to every landowner suggesting or asking them to get a wetland determination and expressing the concern if they don't. It wouldn't take us much to do that.
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great.
I wrote it down in
form
fact.
that you have.
Yep. So we'll do that letter this week yet to the landowners.
Can I get on the mailing list of this one even though I'm not a landowner?
Wow, okay, because I just print labels off of what's there.
Okay.
And if you're not on it, I would have to make myself.
I get your agendas sent to my phone, so I'll just watch for it.
Because do you farm?
We farm.
Somebody's?
Yes.
Because they would get the notice.
Right.
So that's the quarter section, right, that you farm?
It's all of the Sharon Johnson.
The 80 and 40 she runs.
Right south of
Okay.
Ron's. Right south of yours.
Yeah, the beer and farm in the south 40. Alan's got the north 40.
How's your drainage been?
Terrible.
It's like mine.
It's bad.
It just follows a line, just all the way up.
Is that other lateral been showing problems too, the east one?
Not as much,
Because it's higher.
yeah. But we couldn't get a corn crop out of that part that's right south of Ron's there too.
Okay,
Okay, so what's our plan? He's gonna send out letters to,
not yet. Make sure that the NRCS
no,
clears you.
No, that
He's-
has to start the process.
yeah, so he's gonna send letters to the landowners to go to the NRCS.
Well, I guess we got that. I was gonna say,
Your idea
it's
is,
a public record, I mean, it's a public.
but they won't,
Ron could get that information by himself.
well,
That's
they,
just for him.
yeah, they won't,
It's public.
supposed to be, but it's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've tried, as engineers doing the project, these wetland determinations are extremely important to us. No, the permission has to become, asking to have it done has to come from the property owner, and they have to say that it's okay, that they'll send it to us.
Well, it behooves the property owner because
Oh, yeah.
if we go ahead with it,
Oh,
they get kicked out of it, so. Yeah.
oh, yeah, definitely. but-
So you'll send that out this week?
Yes, yes.
And then the next step, do you wanna just go for, we need your report
Yep.
to approve before we can set a public hearing?
Yes,
Would that be when?
2
You're
weeks,
gonna give a report in 2 weeks when you're here.
yes.
So can you
Yeah.
put that on the agenda for the 29th, please?
What day is that?
2 weeks from today.
Number, date?
29?
29th?
That's about
Yeah.
telling me.
Huh?
Well, I just said it, something landed on my shoulder, and said, that's buddy must have fallen out of the light or something. A little thing about the size of a pea on my shoulder.
Oh, that's weird.
It's on the floor now.
No. Now you're making me prove I can do that report in short order here, that's good. And I can, I've got all the facts and figures. And just so you know, we've got DD 47 reclass very close. I may try and meet with the commissioners that day to finalize that too.
Okay.
So how do we determine, do we just take the input from the people at the public hearing on the coefficient?
Yes, and what we've been doing nearly all the time now is we try and, if there's a strong consensus for one or the other, we can bid just the one. But it takes hardly anything to go ahead and bid both options, so they have actual construction costs. So if I was guessing, I'd guess we bid them both, but we have had them where people have said, don't even mess with the half inch, go right to the one, and then that's all we did. The input would be very valuable. It doesn't have to be decided until after the bid.
Is this an estimate then? What you,
Yeah,
so it could be up or down, either way?
Yes.
yeah, it's possible. Historically, what we've been able to do is,
Typically, we've been under.
Under?
yeah,
Well, I don't know on tile, but on some ditches, you know.
yeah, yeah. And pipe prices have gone up the last couple of years, so I'm lagging maybe a little behind with my estimates, but our contingencies always catches it. So I feel pretty comfortable with the overall cost. It just may be, to get to that, we're using some of those contingency numbers for extra money. So I would say what you have there is going to be very close.
Does that tell you what size tile going into it?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah. I know the half inch option, I think, was 30 inch, and the 1 inch was 36 inch.
And we'll have plenty of cover
Cover,
on it.
yes. Looks like it on this one.
How about that area by the grove then? Are we gonna try and go to the west a little farther?
More than likely, we'll try and avoid those. If this is going forward, I'm just trying to think through the timing before I speak here. We'll want to get elevations on the ground, we'll want to get elevations on the tile. So we may not be able to finish the final design till this fall. And then have a winter pivoting and early spring construction.
Is that culvert problem on the blacktop gonna be, around the cement, gonna be a problem? It's different in elevation?
That's over
Yeah.
at the end of.
If I remember right, there's enough fall overall still.
Is there?
Yeah, it's just that it helped the outlet that much more.
That one day when everything was backed up, the outlet culvert that crosses the road into the ditch, it was running half full. So there was
still
a lot of steep wise,
Mm-hmm. So it was handling.
That was the level of the ditch at the time.
Okay. That was a heavy flow time, it sounds like. Yeah. Okay.
That was the time it was going backwards.
Okay.
For the extra $120 an acre on that, how much will that extra going to the 36-inch improve it? I mean, how much happier are they gonna be with their drainage?
Way happier. Double the capacity for 20% increase in cost, 25. It's
Double half to one.
Yeah.
But over what they have now.
Oh,
I was thinking like.
Oh, what they have now?
Either one's an improvement.
But
if you go the last, my grandpa always said, I got more for the last dollar I spent than the first dollar. And, I mean, it's.
Compared to what's out there, a half inch would look like a miracle to him.
Well, I'm just thinking at the bottom there, through Doherty's, he's probably halfway happy after we fix some things with his. Is it gonna be, better for him down in the lower end with the biggest one or the smallest one? It's.
Is the extra going to
Either would
improve
be
for him?
not his preference.
Well, it may not that much with him close to the outlet.
If we have a flooding year though, this would really shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and
No, actually, we need to look at this for DD 21 too.
Yeah. Yeah, another issue.
That's later. So, we have a plan. We're gonna put the report on the 29th, then we can set the public hearing.
And the bidding.
No, we have to have the public hearing first.
Because it could be
Because it
stopped.
could be remonstrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be remonstrated against.
Done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Have a good day.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Nothing more exciting than other people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm not leaving yet.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Anything else? Chris?
Oh, I have drainage matters, but Susan can go ahead.
I was in last fall and asked about a county tile that's in Norway, section 35. And I just was wondering if we have looked at that or checked into that, because I haven't heard anything about it. Drainage District 92.
Let me go see what I have.
I think I was in and,
The ditch itself?
well, there's a 12-inch tile, that's a county tile that comes up into the Marv and Donna Prescott farm.
And that's flat too.
And it doesn't work.
Oh, that's just a repair, so.
Just a little petition for repair there.
Which I did last fall,
We need a petition
so I
for
don't
repair.
know where it's at, where we're at.
You must be checking on it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if this was the place to ask about it, because I've been here for 2 hours anyway.
Yeah, I called Rognus Brothers, so they get added to the list of things to repair. And I haven't heard anything back.
Do you have somebody that could do it? I mean, if you wanna get it done, do you have somebody you know that could do it?
Well, I talked to Jerry and I thought he would be able to do it. He said it could be a winter project or something.
They got really delayed in their other contracts that they
Okay,
had
so
going.
I thought maybe the holdup was here. or-
No, I call a contractor right away. I called him that day.
Okay,
So,
so Jerry needs to just get on that, or someone else.
right.
Okay, so everything is good, because I did check on the wetlands part of it, and it should all be good to
Okay.
go.
And this is just a repair.
Yeah. They got really waylaid in their other contract that they had with
Okay.
other people,
Okay,
so they needed to finish that first. I've still got some issues that I'm waiting on for them to.
okay. So what happens if I call for this landlord to get this done? And it's a county tile, so how does that work with the billing? And I mean, you have to
It still goes
approve,
through the district.
but you approve it first, or you approve it?
We like to
after?
know about it. Yeah,
It
we
won't
like,
be that
Okay,
much.
so just do it.
A repair has to be fixed.
Yeah.
Petition for repair, we have to do it.
Okay.
Problem is all our,
Says you shall maintain. It doesn't
our
give you any
drainage
choice.
contractors are also behind that they
Yeah.
don't.
it's,
Okay.
yeah,
We got drainage contractors that also do construction.
Yeah.
Like Ruggles Brothers are doing one down in Franklin County right now. They've been flooded out there too.
yeah.
Okay, well, as long as I know that's a good to go as
It's still in
soon as
here.
we get it going.
I have all of these.
All right, I'm gonna go buy
To
a
work
tiling
on.
machine, so.
There you go.
Well, that's, something that you would probably make some money at.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
plenty of work, it seems.
Sign me up.
Yeah, but somewhere along the line, something needs to be done as far as with this pattern tiling, you know, the costs have to somehow get reflected there. Really needs to happen, and I don't know, what's the best way to make that happen?
Proving it's one thing, you know,
Yeah.
proving that they did put the pattern tile in, somebody's gotta be inspecting that, or do you have to
It
prove
would be
any
nice if it all
process?
got turned into us, and it could all be on the map.
Yeah.
But, that's the way it is.
But there again, that's dictated by state statutes, so
Yeah.
we don't have anything to say about that. That's the trouble.
Well,
Which
so
is-
who do you talk to then?
Legislature.
Ted Gaspin, Gould,
Yeah,
Why can somebody who owns the high ground pattern tile it and dump all of his water, and somebody in the low ground
yeah,
won't see it?
because that's what happened to this,
It's happening all over.
this one, you know.
Oh, yeah,
I
That's
know.
part of DD 21's problem, but you want to do more digging up there to find out what the problem is. I went and looked down the intake, and I can tell you what the problem is.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, usually the edge of your seat when it's raining. Yep.
Thank you.
Hanging on every word.
Okay.
Clear the room.
Where are we at? Auditor's office discuss drainage matters?
Yes.
Yep.
So, DD1, while I'm thinking of it, DD1, they're going to pull out for another week or so. They were pulling out sand, and I've got pictures from Jason, who's been out there. Larson's just gonna pull out for another week. They're probably gonna ask for an extension, because spring has just been a little hard to get done. So, yeah,
Between the snow and the rain.
Oh,
yeah, so it's understandable.
They were
For
just, I
snow.
think it was just yesterday, I saw them digging on lat 2.
Yeah, that's
there-
Corey Jurgens.
yeah.
Oh, that's a separate.
That's
Separate deal.
separate guys.
You got that one.
Yeah, so he's still working,
All right.
so that's good.
And on one, it's so sandy with the flows that they have, he can't dip the bottom and get it out without all the material coming out. So he's just pushing the problem downstream.
well, isn't that in the contract, inclement delays?
It's there in the general section, I think,
Yeah.
about, conditions that you can
But-
grant an extension, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll grant it.
Yeah, that's fine, but I got a lot of pushback the last time we gave the extension from other contractors, and that is a legitimate concern.
But whether, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If it's in the contract for inclement weather.
Yes,
Then
Yeah.
But
that's,
there's one thing inclement weather, but it's another thing if the river's backed up.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you
Oh,
can.
yeah, that one in particular has that effect, yes. But there are cases where a contractor has pulled out, gone to another job, and then come back. When they go over, I don't have much sympathy, but if they.
Yeah, they've overbooked themselves.
Yes.
That's their problem.
That's right, that's right. So. But this one, we had no problem supporting an extension.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
I get your point, yes.
And then DD 21. Okay, lat 8. Dwayne Davids?
We already spot dug it all last year.
Yeah, because I thought it was done, so he had talked.
In theory, it is done.
Okay. So I was gonna say, I had a bill that I paid and they replaced some, so his comments that we didn't do much or whatever, I thought we were done, so I didn't recheck on anything.
I gotta call,
Holland.
again and talk, but they replaced a chunk that was plugged with tree roots through that, set aside or whatever the acres back behind Trent Schmitz there. And Dwayne's just got water backed up, but I mean, it does, but we spot dug that tile all the way across Cookhouse property and all the way over across where Bosma used to farm, Alabama farms it now. And then they put an intake in the ditch where just before that lat 8 gets to the main. And it was running full all the way down there. It goes into the bottom of that main. It comes into the bottom of the main and it's flowing. I look down the intake right before it gets to and it's higher than the depth of the tile. So the water is up, you can see it, it's slowly churning. His water isn't gonna go away until, his water did go away after they fixed it, but then we had all the excitement we've had here lately and it's filled up again. And there's only one answer for it, and that's an improvement.
Okay, so we're good with that one.
And he still thinks that there's something blocked in Cookhouse property, but if it's full from one end to the other, I mean, I can understand if you were full here and then you were half full here, then you've got something blocking it. But if the tile's full all the way down.
It's like sub 1L2, 1/8 inch drainage coefficient doesn't take much of a rain event to just.
Yeah, and I can't remember what it is, but this one doesn't have a great drainage coefficient either. I just remember it could be better.
Okay.
I'm guessing most of Winnebago County is in that 8 to 4 inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then DD 21, as far as the clean out part is concerned, Gary Garst had sent written a note that it was cleaned fairly recently. It is in his opinion, it would not be beneficial at this time to clean it. Any work done without grade and Cassuth County involvement would be a complete waste of clean out and district money.
I don't think it goes into Cassuth County. I think it goes up into Minnesota first.
No, it goes to Cassuth.
It does, it gets in the upper corner.
Just a little corner there then.
We haven't done the field work yet on that one because there hasn't been fit weather. So we'll know a lot more once we go out and do our field work on that one. No, we do use a boat a lot though. So, yeah.
I told Gary that I would talk to Roger. And then, I mean, the problem would be in Minnesota. I mean, if Cassuth cleans out their little corner, then it'll be up to Minnesota to clean it after that, I suppose.
And we have a very hard time getting with Minnesota to clean anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to read you that.
Right, we can't, if it can't be.
Right.
Have a weak link in the chain, I guess, or fix the chain upstream if it's.
Right. The goal with our report will be to check that out.
Yeah.
We really worked with Minnesota on some, I can't remember what.
102.
Yeah, for like over a year.
It was like 2 or 3 years. Yeah, we never got
Well,
anywhere.
it's just like trying to get them to mutual bridges. They won't touch them. I will close the road first before we fix the bridge, then we fix the bridge.
So.
Happened a couple times too on the state road.
Yeah. I think that's all I have.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, good point. I did bring the file, and I think this is one that may be worth an informational meeting too. Here's what we've run into. We got out there in the last week and got elevations on the existing tile, and there's hardly any fall. If we were on the existing tile, that we'd have to have a pipe so big it'd be above the ground. So the possibility of open ditch construction for that first half mile is a really good, strong consideration.
It's probably closer to 3/4 mile.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, because I think I allowed 4,000 feet in fact. And when we went out and did measurements, it was like 3,600 and some feet long. So, I was done giving copies. This is where we would consider the open ditch. And it was a very good point, and I don't remember which one of you made it, but following the, yes, I would, thank you. Following the property line. Yeah. The first sheet just shows you, well, it shows the landowners involved with where we would put the open ditch portion of this. And I can't remember the footage now, but anyway. The petition for this was to study all of the main tile, and we've summarized. I have cost estimates for half-inch and one-inch coefficients.
That's scary.
It's scary. It is scary. The half-inch coefficient came out an average cost, half-inch, almost $800 an acre. 1-inch, $1,087 an acre. So, very expensive, but again, very undersized. And if that slope is what we measured, I bet it doesn't have a 16th inch drainage coefficient on some of that. Now, the other thing we run into with the topography that we did, as I kind of mentioned it, the tile may get so big that it's impractical, totally impractical. This is one I'm struggling with. When do we actually get out there and dig up the tile and find exactly what we have? All my report that I've done so far is based on the design grade. When we did our elevations, we could have been off to the side of the main, so I'm not putting a lot of weight on that until we do the process of digging up the tile. We don't usually dig it up until after the report is done, when we're working on the final design. So I feel pretty comfortable going with the design grade, but that leads to the cost I'm talking about. Now, the open ditch option, I just penciled on my sheets from the cost estimates what the open ditch would do to it. Actually, the open ditch actually increases the cost of the half-inch coefficient a little bit because you're not replacing as big a pipe. So the cost for the pipe isn't as big on the half-inch. Whereas if you use a ditch on the 1-inch, you're replacing bigger pipe, so you gain more. Keep in mind the open ditch should probably be a 2-inch coefficient. This appears to me to be a likely candidate where a ditch is worth pursuing. But is it one where you want to meet with the landowners? I mean, that could be arranged.
Well, okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
Who pays for this open ditch? Is it that from the existing ditch on that pays for it?
Yes, that's how I think we would structure the classification for that, the reclassification.
And then once the ditch is in place, then the classification is the same as the rest of the ditch? Or
Can be. It would stay, you could do it either way. We have done reclassifications for projects in the past where we've done 2 reclassifications, one to pay for the initial construction and one for future maintenance. Yeah, we've done that 2 or 3 times.
It would be simpler for her down the road.
Absolutely, That's
what we're all about here.
Well, you need to, you're such an active county, you need to, look for those things. This would be a likely candidate for that. Not have the people down below pay for this initial project, but in the future.
Because you would struggle with the remonstrance.
Yeah, because they're not gaining anything down below. Not a thing. They're just going to get more water.
Okay, so now, if you dug the open ditch, would you just see if this solved a lot of the problems, or would you recommend trying to go another half mile with at least repair, if not improvement?
Good question. I don't know if I can quickly find it. Where what would be then the lower part of the tile was the worst, we could determine and how far it would go to help you out. I don't know if I can tell quickly from this or not, but existing capacities, oh geez, I forgot that was this one. We calculated the existing capacity in 9 places. 6 of those 9 is 1/16 inch drainage coefficient. So if you're gonna do the tile, you're probably gonna wanna do it all. But there's nothing wrong in doing a ditch project if you want to, because there's some hurdles with that, just permits and things. So that might stretch the project out a little
Would
bit.
it simplify the project if the ditch easement is on drainage, have one person's side that wants the project?
Probably.
There may be some resistance from the other side.
I think, isn't there some DNR ground on the?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just talked to one of the family members across the fence line there, and they had concerns, well, how's that gonna affect that? Well, we just worked that out.
We just got our field work a few days ago to get the ground surface, and then just yesterday we ran quantities for a ditch, and it came out like 30,000 yards, which sounds like a lot, but isn't that bad. And we figured that we'd be just south of the fence. When I told them to pick a center line, I said, figure so that the leveling the silt just came to that fence line.
Yeah.
I think I was 50 feet south of the fence.
He's gonna lose some of his.
Yes.
But won't be paying taxes.
Right, won't be paying taxes, and he'll get paid market value or a little more typically for that property.
Plus they can talk and just donate.
Well, there you go. Well, the benefit.
He's the one that's getting all the benefit because he owns the land up in the other corner.
Oh, see that, yeah. Yeah, the true answer is the ditch and the tile. You can do it in stages, but you probably need another petition then.
At least to the other road.
Yeah.
Because that field across the road is the one that really hurts.
Really hurting, okay.
It would take the pressure off of that field.
And I don't know if this is an informational meeting type thing, or if we do the preliminary report finished and then have it. I don't know, you can think about that a little bit.
Do you think, I mean, we already have the numbers for the whole way. You could downsize the pipe a little bit in that second part past the open ditch.
Yes, and I did some penciling in. For example, on the half-inch coefficient, I put 4,000 linear feet of ditch, and it's going to be slightly less than that. But then I decreased the amount of 48-inch tile that would be required, which lowers that item $53,000 on those. But the ditch cost more because we're getting a 2-inch coefficient.
But will the tile past the end of the new open ditch, will that be smaller, or is it still going to be 48-inch?
It'd still be 48-inch, it's just that it would shorten it 900 feet. Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Remember how far you went up the 48-inch? Was it to the next lateral? Don't you typically downsize when you go past a lateral?
Yes, yeah, very typical.
Lateral, I know there's one that comes right there, at the end of the old ditch. I thought there was there something that comes?
Yeah, there's one from the southwest, less than a quarter mile upstream. Another one from the northeast, 2 of them from the northeast, just over a quarter mile northwest. So yeah, there's, I'm not sure how far we went with it, to tell you the truth. And I'd absolutely have to review this.
See, he's got that land along the highway there that would benefit from this. There's a lateral that crosses the highway, and he's got land on that side of the highway too.
Okay.
It all looks like wetlands, because he's had it in CRP for many years.
Sure.
And it's always underwater, but it's tile. It's just never been able to drain.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where this change in procedure, where they'll allow you to consider the tile in excellent condition, has helped a lot. It's eliminated a lot of lands that were said to be wetlands.
So yeah, you got past the end of the new open ditch, you've got the lat 15, lat 14, and lat 16 before you get to that road crossing. So I don't know, with the two lats close to the end of the open ditch,
Yeah,
that'd be halfway to the road. So
well, yeah,
maybe
just,
1,200 feet of 48, and then it probably downsizes.
yeah, I'd take a serious look at that again before a meeting, obviously.
But then if you put proper size to the road, then you got a 16-inch main dumping into
Yeah,
this big,
yeah.
which would definitely benefit.
Oh, yeah, it clears the outlet. Yeah, it helps, but
Like having an open ditch.
absolutely. Comparing the sizes of those pipes, yes. Spendy project, but they're in desperate need of
Is
drainage.
that typical to try and do the first section in improvement to see if it helps the rest?
Yeah, I wouldn't say real typical. I mean, we've done a handful of those through the years.
Is it successful overall?
If I had to say yes or no, I'd say no, because it helps where you did the improvement for a short distance beyond it.
But the other issue through that other field is the condition of the tile.
Yes.
Collapse.
Yes. Well, and that's where, in new condition, it only has a 1/16 inch drainage coefficient. Any kind of crushing or anything, and it's basically inoperable. So they're in desperate need, but it's gonna cost them a lot of money to do whatever improvement they decide on.
But when farming's tough, how much can they bear?
Exactly. If we ever get to $7 corn again, this would be an ideal one to jump on. I mean, because they could pay most of their assessments in a season. But we saw that with the $7 corn. So I'm not sure how you want to proceed with this one. Desperate need of drainage. Open ditch looks like a good option, but limited improvement upstream if you don't do something more with the tile too.
Well, I guess I could talk to the three owners that put in for the improvement.
There you go.
See what they say.
There you go.
And then we'd need to reclassify it.
We have to classify.
What?
I mean, afterwards,
Yeah, we'd want to reclassify the district
Yeah.
to have,
after the ditch is in.
yeah, you could do that two-stage where you
Right.
have
Yes.
the classification for the repair and then the
Yes.
future.
Yes.
So we haven't reclassified,
Mm-mm.
we're going to.
Yeah, we did not.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely needs to be reclassified, because it's a mess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so many of them are that haven't been reclassified. Things have just changed so much.
So you're gonna talk to the landowners and
The
then,
three that put their name to it.
and then we're going to possibly put it back on the agenda. Okay. And if you could do that by the 29th, if we had that on there too.
The one thing I'll ask them if that's what they want to do it in that stage.
Do you have estimates, like just let's see, then I wouldn't have the right landowners even if I did put in who was gonna pay for it, you know how I did
Oh.
that, I could,
It's not separated
it wouldn't be
out.
right, yeah. So I couldn't do an estimate,
Oh.
Without the reclass.
right. Because I wouldn't know exactly what landowners would be
Yeah,
paying for
All
the
we can do is
repair.
estimate the number of acres that are in this part of it.
Would you have the main tile people paying for the repair or the open ditch creation?
Yes.
Because it's,
Yeah.
so I could do that way,
Oh, you can?
because I know who's in the main or the main tile, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's the part we're talking.
Yeah, so I could do that,
Yeah.
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 And at least get an idea of what they would be paying for any amount.
Okay.
If this goes all the way back to an original classification, it's gonna change significantly, but
Right.
at least give them some idea.
Yeah. I could do that.
Well, I'll let you know. I'll try and get a hold of them today. They're probably
Okay.
not as busy today.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Rick.
You bet. Big drainage day.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like the 29th may shape up that way too.
Yep.
I like this because you guys accomplished a lot getting through all of this, but yet I'll probably, maximum any project to be charged is a couple hours of my time.
Right. It's nice.
2 pages.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, there you go.
Helps keep the overall cost down. We're all for it.
Pay estimate, Larson Contracting.
It's in your thing.
It is? Well,
See, they were doing another one by Thompson.
if it's drainage, I might have thrown it over there, Bill.
Well, that's the Ronald Jacobs from Westigard.
All right.
We have a thing that says denied.
Yeah.
They give me a bad time in Humboldt County too.
Was that right?
Yeah. They're very active.
Are they doing their own seating provided?
I don't
We don't know for sure.
Do they have some on
Is
there?
that part of the contract?
Yes,
Because it's on here,
but there's no payment, is it?
$9,000, that be the contract.
Contract.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yes.
So you're okay with the pay estimate?
Yes, yep.
I'll make a motion
Yep.
for approval of pay estimate number 3 to the Larson contract, BD1.
Motion by Terry, second by Bill to approve the pay estimate number 3 to Larson Contracting for BD 1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Do you have those for DD11? I can go make copies of those.
Yeah, let's. No. Which one? Yeah, let's talk. Okay.
Put one together,
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's transfers.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, second by Terry to approve the auditor's transfers. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public policy for election officials.
This is at precincts then, or training?
For both.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve the public purpose policy for election officials.
Second it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll second that. Motion by Terry, seconded by myself to approve the public policy for election officials. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Three Fingers permit.
I'll make a motion to approve fireworks permit for Three Fingers Campground.
I'll second that.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to approve the fireworks permit for Three Fingers Backgrounds. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gray areas.
Yeah, no, it's right there in the line. Maybe I should let you do it.
That's one of those areas, it kind of goes like this.
Yeah,
Even on that side of the road.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Yeah, you got north side of the road.
Not at all.
Yeah. Wait, he's supposed to go school. Or he said he did.
We tried. He tried to look at me. I found out he was in that district.
Start with all three of us.
Yeah, all three is then.
When did that start?
It's always been that way. Yep.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
These are checks that were written to us?
No,
No.
we wrote to them
Yeah.
and they never bothered to cash them. Everything should just be on that front page.
Oh. I'll make a motion to cancel the old warrants.
Second it.
Motion by myself, seconded by Terry to cancel the old warrants. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
You want to stamp that approved bill? And-
Can we go back to drainage?
No.
Yes, we do.
It could be a nightmare.
I just looked
That's all
at,
right, I got plenty of time now. I just took care of my own drainage.
okay. So on DD 11, it is not separated out by the main tile. It's main ditch or some laterals.
Okay.
So I cannot do an estimate for anybody because I don't know who's on the main tile.
Apparently, when they originally did it, they had the main ditch and tile all together.
So, probably best to just get it reclassified.
That's up to you guys.
And then reclassify after that, if we do the open ditch.
That, yeah, is that,
It'd be an action item to reclassify, right?
Yeah.
We could do that next week, probably.
Yeah. And he said that he could do, some boundaries and by the plat book and whatever, find landowners. But, I mean, it wouldn't be a true assessment because, you haven't done classification.
Well, I was thinking we discussed this last winter or whenever, last fall, that we needed to reclassify it. I don't know if we'd actioned on it or not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So I just wanted to let you know that it's,
All right, put it on
I can't do an
the agenda for
estimate.
reclass things.
Okay. And then let those landowners know that too, that I have no way of doing an estimate for any of it.
Well, they already knew we had to reclass it, so.
Right. But to spread out that cost of a ditch, I don't know.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Again.
Did you have any questions on claims? I don't know if you got that far.
We're just there now.
Oh, okay. Did you have any questions?
Don't know yet.
Oh, no.
There wasn't a black form we need to sign.
Probably got buried with the other papers.
Yes, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the 7 monthly county claims.
I'll second it.
Bill, second by Terry to approve monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Already did.
Sign it.
Already did.
Then I can see.
Yep.
What do you got like that?
Yeah, no, I was looking at that. I couldn't decide if it was me or whether it was the stand.
You must have been shaking. Not about it.
And let's see, we already approved the canceling of the old warrants.
Yeah, that's Mike and myself.
We're in open forum.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was out to the jail the other day, and after it had been raining, didn't find any evidence.
Any new?
So,
Good.
I don't know, if something they did fix it, or it just wasn't the right type of rain.
We stamp this receipt.
Did we ever figure out when our warranty date is?
I'm not 100% sure. I talked to John the other day, and he said that there's gonna be a walkthrough, like an 11-month walkthrough. So, and I said, we'll all be invited to that, right? So,
We're gonna have to discuss those valves. Rick will be at that one.
I don't know.
He's the one who designed it.
I would guess that he would be, but
I recommend it. Because if he's designing them and there's a problem, he needs to do his next design at least. Or he's already not designing it that way.
well, John, when I talked to him, he said, well, I don't know why you guys use that. And I said, because you told us to.
Everything came through there.
This is the longest meeting we've had in a while.
Yeah.
Other than budget.
Other than what?
Budget.
Yeah.
Oh, our church got a threat the other day. Or a member of our church got a threat.
Really?
You know, Doug was down by the river, not in the van, but just down by
Oh,
the river.
yes, now, I know who you're talking about.
He's not happy we kicked him out several years ago out of the parking lot, out in the middle of nowhere.
The guy that, by leaving there?
So were there any questions?
I was like, don't you dare come back for drainage.
No one had.
We approved it.
Okay. And then the canceled,
Yep. we did
okay,
that.
okay, good, so, good. Thank you.
Anyway, the part that was concerning in the letter, it actually went to Dr. Gene. Field.
Oh, yeah?
Why him, we're not sure. He wasn't on the council at the time. It wasn't him that talked to him. Might have been his ex-brother-in-law, but, it was more, there was somewhat of a threat in there that some paybacks.
That's not good.
But Gene took it to the sheriff's department, talked to a deputy, and they got a copy of it.
Does he park there when the park is flooded, or they live
He was parking there and coming in and using facilities.
Oh,
This
church
is back
is
before our church did a big shakeup. We had some people leave because we left the ELCA and went to the LMC.
Yeah.
He was having carte blanche with our church and it started to really smell in there and so we changed the codes on the locks.
Yeah, just, our church doesn't get locked until 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night.
But out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah, no, that's
you
all
have
different.
somebody to go in and clean and somebody's down in the basement because he jumped around the corner of the building. You don't know he's there.
Oh.
Can be a little
A little
under.
scary,
Yeah,
especially if the person cleaning is female.
yes, always.
Yeah, that's a little,
And years ago, got into a shouting match with our pastor at the time, which was a combination pastor between Leland and us, in his office.